All right, welcome to this week's breakout watch list from August 7th to the 11th. In this video, I'll be covering the top 10 swing trading setups going into next week from the long side. Each of these stocks either have strong fundamentals, strong technicals, or volume clues that lead uptrends. As always, before we get started, this video is sponsored by MarketSmith, which is the trading research platform that we're going to be using to break down each of the setups. Here are the 10 stocks that I'll be covering in today's video. But before we get into these charts, I do want to give a quick market overview. As you probably know, before last week, the market's been in a very strong uptrend with leading groups and leading stocks acting very well. But last week was the first time we got some clear distribution and a risk-off signal. So I wanted to cover that quickly before I threw 10 setups at you. Taking a look at the indexes, this is the action on Friday. You can see we had really nice rallies in the middle part of the day, but eventually we closed right near the low of the day for all the indexes. Taking a look at the moving averages, both the 8 and 21 EMAs for each of the indexes, QQQ, which is the NASDAQ 100, SPY, Dow Jones, IWO, Growth ETF, and RK are under their 8 and 21 EMAs. For the most part, well, they're all of their 8-day EMAs are in a downtrend, signaling a short-term downtrend in the market. That's your risk-off signal. Also, the 21 EMA is sloping down for NASDAQ 100, SPY, IWO, and RK. So with this in mind, I don't want to be too aggressive going into the market next week. I want to see some confirmation of upside action before I get too involved. But with that said, let's jump to MarketSmith and break down these setups that I'll be watching. The first stock that we'll cover is ABCM, and if you've been following the channel, this has been on the watch list for a couple weeks now. Still not doing anything too bad. Last week it traded under the 8 and 21 EMAs, but it did so on lighter volume. This is a biotech stock that had a really nice run from, what was this, 1250 all the way up to 2530, so about a double there, moving back into the 21 EMA. High type flag type of action and really nice action on Friday. Higher highs, higher lows, pretty quiet volume, but you can see the 8 and 21 EMAs line up with that high of day on Friday. So with this one, I'm just looking for a break over Friday's high as a potential entry point. That's 2311, and then managing my stop under the low from Thursday, 2240, around a 5% risk there for ABCM. The next stock that we have is FSLY. This got on my radar on Thursday after it reported earnings, I think after the close on Wednesday. Negative earnings, but positive sales up 13% and really strong closing range. Really, it's the reaction to earnings that I'm more interested in than the actual fundamentals. But this was up 23%, closing in the upper, 15% of the daily range, back over $20 over previous resistance, and did so on above average volume, about 350% the average volume. But what really caught my eye, and I did start a position in this for full disclosure, on Friday, was the reaction. As the indexes were coming down, as many of the growth stocks were getting hit, this stock continued to act well, up 3.7%, closing right near the high of the day. And it did kind of pull into the HVC level. That's where I got positioned in. So for me, what I'm looking for, since I'm already in, I'm not looking to add more positions or add more to the position as the indexes are under their 21 EMAs. But if this can pull into $20 or the HVC, the high volume close from Thursday, which was 2024, two areas to kind of enter right around and manage your risk 2 to 3% from there. With the move on Thursday and the continuation on Friday, FSLY does move into a stage 2 uptrend, which is really nice to see. The next stock that we have is KBH, and this is one of those home building stocks, 7th strongest group out of 197. There's plenty of home builders showing great relative strength. As MarketSmith is pointing out here, this is an ascending base where we have 3 higher highs as it pulls into that 21 EMA, right around the 21 EMA. There's a couple days where it falls under, but then it breaks to the upside. So when we broke under the 21 EMA, but then closed right above it, had positive action on Friday of 2%, closing right near the high of the day, and earnings 45 days away, so we don't have to worry about that. This is a stock that if the market continues to stay under pressure Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this can build out a really nice pivot at $55 where we can manage our risk below the 8-day EMA and whatever the low of the day was. Now, if this opens up right at 55 on Monday, I would be less likely to take the trade. I'm really looking for more consolidation, showing relative strength, and then that 55 pivot later on in the week for KBH. The next stock we have is NU, and this has been on the breakout watch list for a couple weeks as well. This is a foreign bank in Brazil. Brazil has been getting a lot of money rotating in there. Another stock that's putting in a high type flag goes from $3.40 up to $8. It does have earnings in 9 days, so if that's too early for you, you could just skip this one, but very clear pivot at $8. This is one that I did try to trade on this day, the 31st, through $8. Got stopped out as it shook under the 21 EMA for about a 3-4% loss. That I could take those losses, and as it sets up again, shows relative strength later on in the week. It's one that I could very easily take again. And because it's not an American stock with the American debt being downgraded, this is one that we might see some rotation in for NU. Next, we have Warren Buffett's favorite stock, Occidental. This is one that's been basing out. I really want to go to a weekly chart first. This is one that had a really nice run in 2022 as all the tech stocks were pulling back. Basically doubled, I think, a little bit more than doubled, and then started basing out from June of 2022 all the way until this year. So just had earnings on Thursday where we shook out the 21 EMA, closed back above the 8-day, and eventually on Friday we had some great relative strength, up 2.1%, closing above the 200-day. This is one kind of similar to KBH where I would love to see just some tight price action above the 200-day moving average, not another close underneath, and then we can use the high from Friday, 64.53, as a potential entry point later on in the week. Next, we have PLAB, and as much as the indexes pulled back last week, semiconductors actually were showing some decent relative strength. The main leader, NVIDIA, closed right at the 21 EMA after closing below it on Wednesday. Some decent relative strength there. So there's two stocks on the breakout watch list today that come from that semiconductor group. The first one is PLAB. This is one that I've traded a while ago in the past, but on a weekly chart, you can see a nice double bottom base here where the lows basically align right here. We run right back up to previous highs, right around $25, and we've been consolidating there nicely. So back to the daily chart, we pulled in the 21 EMA once, pulled in twice. Both we've basically held closes right around those areas. So this is one, if the market can find some strength earlier on next week, we could just use the high from Friday, 26.11, and then a stop under the 21 EMA for PLAB. The next stock that we have is ROKU, and this is a pretty similar setup to FSLY because it also had a stage 2 breakout on earnings. This one a little bit more powerful, up 31% on 760% the average daily volume, closing right at the high of the day. And we did see continuation similar to FSLY for day 2 and day 3 on above average volume before pulling back the last 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just into that 8-day EMA. And as you can see, we pulled back on much lighter volume than we rallied on, which is a nice sign. This is one where if we shake out under the 8-day EMA, say we have weakness Monday morning because of how weak we closed on Friday on the indexes, that would be a great shakeout to come back in here, and then we could use either the reclaim of the 8-day EMA right around $86 right now, or the high of Friday, that would be $89.15, and then just manage the risk against the low of the day, whatever that is. But if this needs more time to kind of shake out and consolidate, this is probably one like ABCM that would make the breakout watch list next week. Next we have SGH, and I thought this was a semiconductor. This is actually data computer storage, so still a strong group, 40th out of 197, but a very strong individual stock from $14.31 all the way up to $30, over 100% move in 8 weeks or less, then pulling back into $25. That qualifies for that high type flag that we're looking for. Great relative strength last week as the indexes were coming down. You can see the stock basically traded sideways, so that relative strength rating continued in an uptrend. This is one, again, I'm looking for weakness on Monday for the indexes. So if this comes under pressure, that would tighten up the price action a little bit more, allow that 50-day moving average to maybe catch up. And then we can use Friday's high, 27.40, maybe call it just 27.50. Or if we pull back into this area where all the lows are at, we can manage our risk against the 50-day moving average. So the theme this week is the indexes are damaged. I'm not looking to put a ton of risk on in the market, but these are the setups that are holding relative strength recently that another week would even set them up even better. But I digress. SGH, one of the watch list names. We talked about Occidental earlier. This is another oil and gas name, SLB. I believe this was on the breakout watch list last week, and since then has done nothing wrong. Traded sideways while the market's been down, so that relative strength line is in an uptrend. You can see, let's go to a weekly chart really quick on this. You can see we're right near overhead resistance. So building out some 3 weeks, basically 4 weeks tight there, right around the previous highs is very healthy. I'm just looking for a break over the highs in this area, 58.70, or if we get weakness in the market coming into the 21 EMA, trying to get in around 56.50 and then manage our risk under the 21 EMA, 3 to 4% risk there for SLB. And the last stock that I have for you today, and I think this is probably on everyone's watch list already, is VRT. This is an electrical power equipment, 19th strongest stock out of 197. They also just had earnings on Wednesday where they were up 29% on 607% the average daily volume, closing right near the high of the range. We had sideways action on Thursday and then great relative strength on Friday, up 3.5%, closing in the mid part of the daily range. This is one that had earnings up 360% year over year, sales up 24%, after-tax profit margins improving up 10%. And they also increased their estimates for the rest of 2023 and 2024, which is great to see. This is the leading stock in that group. So whenever we're looking at leading stocks in leading groups showing relative strength, the probability is on your side to making money as long as we get that market behind us as well. Because 75%, 3 out of 4 stocks will trade with the market. So if we do get Apple continuing to break down, that was the big name breaking down on Friday under the 50-day moving average. But if we can pop back over that 21 EMA for a SPY or QQQ, then VRT is also a name that I would want to keep on a tight watch list. If we have more weakness going into the week, then looking for the HVC, the high volume close from that Wednesday earnings gap, that would be 34.29 as a potential support, or just the 8-day EMA later on in the week as it catches up to price for VRT. And that's going to be the breakout watch list for the upcoming week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.